Yo, what's good, guys? Confessias back again with another video. And yeah, Valve recently updated its official tournament license, and most people, or at least some people, I've read some comments, are misunderstanding what actually changed, I think. So, a lot of people think that skin gambling, case opening, or skin trading sponsors are still allowed as long as the logos are not shown, but that just isn't true. If you read the license carefully, Valve went much further than just banning jerseys or the visibility of they basically banned the entire involvement of those companies in the CS esports scene. And that tells us about, or a lot about, where Counter Strike esports, or maybe even the entire CS economy, is headed. Now, if you didn't know yet or haven't watched my last video, I've opened a stat track Factory Neo Orb Chromatic Aberration, which I'm going to give away. Just comment under the last video, subscribe and like, so you are in for the drawing. I'm going to draw the winner on the 31st of December. Have very good luck, guys. Now let's go. What has actually changed in the CS esports scene? So tournament organizers may now not display basically in any visible way of like skin gambling sites, or even, that's the interesting part, not even skin trading sites. The logos on their jerseys, if they're sponsored, broadcast overlays, so the stream itself may not have any of those overlays. Stage banding is not allowed, and any content visible basically during the entire broadcast is not allowed. If that content promotes skin gambling sites, case opening platform, or even skin trading marketplace sites, your favorite skin trading platform, which you use for cashing out, basically, I don't know, Skin Baron or anything, they are not allowed. They cannot sponsor a team anymore. That's kind of a big change, in my opinion. And this kind of happened quietly, and this is why it's so interesting to me. So this is not only about logos. The crucial sentence here is that the licensee will not accept sponsorships from sponsors that generate revenue through activities that violate Valve agreement or rely on Valve's game economies. So basically, any site that is built solely on the Counter Strike aspect, or even like, I don't know, Rust, but who the fuck cares about Rust, honestly? Um, so yeah, those skins have, of course, marketplaces where they can be traded, so-called third-party marketplaces. They are not allowed to sponsor tournaments anymore. And yeah, not even hidden, not silent, not off camera, basically not at all. They are breaching a contract here if they do so. So if a company basically relies on Steam inventories, that's the distinction, interacts with players' inventories, monetizes Valve's item economy, because as we all know, your skins are not worth anything to Valve, they are not allowed as a sponsor for a Valve licensed tournament. And they add, this includes, in brackets here, this includes, but is not limited to, key resellers or companies that interact with players' Valve game inventories. And I think this wording is intentional. They are not listing exceptions here, they are defining a category of businesses they don't want in official CS esports, to be seen at least. They may still coexist. We're going to talk about that as well. But as I said, like, the visibility of it seems to be the problem at this point. And now also a very important point, and this is, I think, where the confusion comes from. Teams and tournament organizers are not the same thing, obviously. The license directly binds the tournament organizer, the so-called licensee. It does not automatically void a team's global contract. If a team has a sponsorship with, I don't know, like an example of a skin gambling site here, they may still have that contract, because this does not automatically void a team's global contract. It cannot just happen like that. Valve cannot entirely say, okay, you're not allowed to do that. But a team might, as I said, still have those sponsorships, but that sponsor cannot be activated, cannot be referenced, not be shown, or not be promoted in any way connected to the tournament. So at the point where the tournament starts, yeah, that's where the problem begins, basically. If you're a pro player sponsored by, I don't know, like Skin Club or whatever, and you stream on Kick, have that overlay, nobody's going to give a shit. But if you're going to do it in a tournament, Valve is obviously going to give a shit here. So when people say they're still allowed, they just can't show the logos, that's kind of incorrect. For official events, organizers can take them, and teams cannot take them as well, and that is a functional ban. So, and one point as well, you might have to ask yourself is what kind of sponsor, like if you're Skin Club, for example, I don't know, like it's just an example here. Why would they sponsor a team when basically like the hype around CS esports is the biggest it has ever been? I'm playing the game for basically since the beginning, and never has it been like this extreme. So yeah, why like extremely hyped? I mean, so why in the end would they take or at least they're going to reduce the money they're giving those teams? I think. Um, yeah, that's basically my opinion here. And here's a very important distinction as well. So regulated gambling sponsors are nothing new, and I'm not going to say that gambling is the like basically the epitome of problems. Obviously, like real regulated gambling platforms are still allowed. This does not include them. So, for example, I don't know, Stake, for example, BetBoom, and any other thing you can think of basically here that actually have a somewhat regulated system, they are not going to be excluded. And it's like even in other sports, it's nothing new that those sponsors are visible. The F1, the German Bundesliga, anything, any sport you watch basically has some kind of gambling affiliated sponsor. It's not the problem. Like the problem is that these basically like they use real money, they are licensed in many regions, and they enforce age verification. And here's the important part: they do not rely on Steam inventories. They are not monetizing the Steam inventory or the items inside of those. Now the problem is when sites do exactly this. So case opening platforms, skin betting, sweepstakes built around items, so the modern definition of those gambling sites, they are kind of screwed here. And more important, I think, skin marketplaces. But they haven't been very visible around the scene. I think Skin Baron at some point sponsored BIG. So yeah, so they are, but it's a very small portion of the sponsors in comparison. Because in the end, these rely on Steam inventories. They are historically enabling underage gambling, which is a problem. They violate Steam's terms of service, and this is basically the category that Valve is excluding here. And now, how big is it really? At IEM Cologne 2025, a publicly documented list shows that 13 out of 24 teams had a gambling or betting sponsor, and that's more than half of all those teams. So most of these were regulated betting sponsors, but skin based sponsors were historically even more common in tier 2 and tier 3 teams, where their teams are relying heavily on them to survive. So this entire tier might have a very interesting future ahead. So this isn't like a niche issue or something, and it's actually a larger part of the entire CS esports and ecosystem scene. So yeah. And now this is not a new issue if you've followed Counter-Strike for some years, as I have. Back in 2016, when we had the cease and desist situation with like 23 sites, I think that have gotten a letter from Valve to basically shut down their business. CS was way smaller. The esports had like way less attention. Gambling platforms were less mature. It was basically just the beginning of it all. And now, if we fast forward to 2025, CS is bigger than ever. Like, this is the peak of it all. Valve just won Esports Publisher of the Year, also very interesting to point out. The media attention, therefore, is also much higher. And gambling platforms, I think, I don't have any data to prove that, that's going to be very hard to get. Gambling platforms are much larger financially, I think, because like comparing 2016 gambling to 2025 gambling and the like player base and everything is probably like a kind of a like I don't know, probably like 10 times as big. I don't have any data, as I said, but it's much, much larger, probably. Especially if you've kind of followed the entire drama situation, which CoffeeZilla also talked about. So I'm not going to talk about it too much. They seem to have a lot of fucking money to throw around. And now, where does Valve stand with this and their brand and basically their legal position, which is very important? So they are basically saying and have always said that they have no relationship with gambling sites. They are like gambling sites are basically the black sheep among all. But when teams wear gambling logos at official Valve events and players sponsored by those sites are using Valve's items because, as I said, the items are not yours. That statement becomes very hard, I think, to defend publicly. Like if you're basically acknowledging that they are sponsoring so many teams around your game, saying that is kind of very hard. So at Valve's current scale at this point, I think the perception matters here. This policy is not just about rules, it's about branding liability and distance. So I want to be clear, in my opinion, as I've already said, gambling isn't like inherently a bad thing. Of course it's a problem, but like if you're over 18, you understand the risks. That's a personal choice. If you want to go and roll the dice for your 10 euros, I don't care, man. You might as well grab a pack of cigarettes, which will statistically shorten your lifespan for the same 10 euros. You are like, of course, that's kind of a interesting argument here, but I don't know if you kind of feel it. So here, if you basically put 10 euros into a slot machine, you kind of have to have the chance to get something out of it at least. If you put 10 euros into a pack of cigarettes, you're reducing your lifespan and you have like some kind of dopamine hit. So it's like basically nobody's going to restrict gambling at any point. It's always been here for as long as humanity exists, basically. The real problem, I think, is underage gambling. That is a problem that we can acknowledge. Now, to give you an example here, but don't do this. As I said, if you're not over 18, don't ever do this. I've censored the site. Here you go. I don't want to bash anyone or anything. So you have to check one box that you're over 18. Basically, with any sites where you have to do this, it's just a gatekeeping basically, but it doesn't mean anything. And at this point, you just can deposit, put your skins in, and that's it. No KYC or anything. They are enabled through Steam linked systems, the Steam API, which is against Steam's official terms of service. And that seems to be the line Valve is drawing here. And if gambling is becoming a problem for you or someone you know, there are support resources. I'll link them in the description if you feel like someone in your close relationships has a problem with it. Just reach out to those sites. You might have some help here. Now let's zoom out a little bit and look at what the signs are pointing at. And they are pointing at the same direction, I think. So more internal systems is what we've seen already with the terminal, for example. We have less third-party reliance, and we have more control inside Steam. So refund changes, the reversal update, basically, the armory dealer, stricter rules overall, all of it pushes economic activity back into Steam. We've covered that topic basically, but it's going to be even more extreme in the next coming years, I think. And now here's my personal opinion, the revenue angle as well. So every case opened on an external site is lost revenue for Valve. This is something we cannot debate about. If Valve builds its own gambling-like mechanics, higher wallet limits, if that's going to happen eventually, internal pricing, then external platforms become direct competitors, and they are already direct competitors. Yeah, in my opinion, they kind of have to profit from each other. But yeah, this is a very deep topic. I could find a lot of things here, but that might be another video here. So reducing their presence makes business sense, basically makes sense of the entire business. So I think that there are two realistic paths here. So we have the gradual crackdown, the sponsorship exclusion, which is step one, the APIs tightening. So we might see something else like the cease and desist situation. Which I don't know. Like it has been like 9 years already, and nothing happened. So it's kind of running good. I think they have a strong legal stance, at least. I think Valve. Otherwise, it would have already been forbidden. But if we have like more regulations and everything, we can see exactly this. Slow enforcement of that entire system, basically. If it is inevitable, Valve is going to change it already. And path two would be no public drama. So they are basically sweeping everything out under the rug. The shady stuff that is happening with their APIs. Steam absorbs more economic activity, which is basically the money making side of it. Either way, the result is the same. More money stays inside Steam, except if like path one is like, of course, the condition would be it's happening kind of slowly. If that happens like instantly, like let's say 1st of January, every site that uses Steam API and violates Steam's terms of service is banned. The entire market would crash, and basically skins are not going to be worth anything, as that is kind of a very hypothetical scenario, which is not realistic, in my opinion. Yeah, that might not really be the way we are headed. So let's be precise, this is not just a Jersey ban. Valve is excluding inventory based gambling businesses from official CS esports, and not only gambling but also trading, legally and structurally, not only cosmetically. Like we cannot see, like not only for the eye, basically. So people who think these sponsorships are still allowed are missing that kind of distinction. This update is not the end. It might be an opening move, but we will see in the future what actually happens out of it. So thanks for watching, guys. If you want to follow up on what this means for skin prices or team finances, let me know. Or if you have any other idea, just let me know in the comments. I'm very glad you watched the video till the end. Like and subscribe if you've liked the video, and I will see you in my next one. Have a nice day.